All right, guys, this is Paul Singh, otherwise known as the Market Speculator from bullsonwallstreet.com and the marketspeculator.blogspot.com. Going over your Twitter requests, and I've got 29 requests here, lots of great stocks. And before I begin, let's talk about what I'm looking at. Now, I'm trading on a swing time frame, usually about 2 days to 2 weeks, sometimes a month, for the swing trade. So if you're looking at it as a day trade or a position trade, our analysis is going to be a little different. So remember where I'm coming from when I look at these, and I'm trading a specific methodology, the types of setups that I'm looking for. And there's tons of ways to skin a cat when you're trading. So you might be looking at something different. So if I say, it's not a good setup, that does not mean it's not a good setup for the type of style you might be trading. So if you follow me, you know what I'm looking for. So keep that in mind when I'm going over these stocks. And really quickly, if you want a free trial to our trade report, you can go over to bullsonwallstreet.com, part-time trader free trial. Put in your information and you will get a free trial to the trade report where you get a nightly trade report. There'll be a 10 to 15-minute video going everything I'm looking to trade for the next day. We go over our current positions, any trade alerts that occurred, and you'll get a summary there, some trade alerts during the day if I take any trades, and an intraday report. So now let's get back to the Twitter requests here. First one, ADXS in biotech. And I think with a lot of these biotechs, the first thing you want to do is take a look at the biotech sector. And, it's been leading the market for quite a while now. And now it's in this kind of chop range from about 330 to 370. It looked like it was going to break down, but has actually remounted now. We don't have a really good clue of whether it's going to break down or come back up and break out over 370 or just stay in this chop range. So I think we can look at our setups now, our focus list setups, without worrying too much about the sector itself. And that helps with a number of these biotech stocks that you guys have pointed out here. ADXS, very similar to the sector itself, except for when it pulled back, it held the 50-day moving average. A little bit concerned about the volume pattern. There have been a couple of big distribution days here, so there might be some significant players getting out of the stock. If I was going to enter, I'd probably want a little better value here, closer to the 50-day moving average, and maybe it makes a run up. And then even if it retraces only half its move here, you still get a decent gain. But I think there are better stocks to be had in the biotech space. So if you want to trade it, go for that pullback, but I think you can look for something else. And remember that, don't get stuck with one stock. We can stretch here and say, you could get in here, but why trade this when there are probably other better biotech stocks to trade right now? LCI, drug manufacturer, so kind of in that biotech area, drug manufacturers, they've all been moving together along with medical devices. So those three sectors have been kind of in line. LCI, we've had a breakdown here, poor and negative pattern. Let me look at it more longer term. We are getting close to the 200-day moving average. So maybe we can play a little bounce here if we pull back a little more. But again, I would wait for a little more of a move here to the 200-day moving average. And actually, if it did bounce and maybe fills this gap here and nothing changes in terms of the volume pattern, this might be topping here, and we have actually a short setup on a bounce here or a break of the 200-day moving average. ISRG, medical devices, we just talked about that here. We have a remount of the 200-day, and then we've got the 50-day looming. I wouldn't touch this unless we clear the 50-day and pick up on volume, because it is a negative volume pattern here. RTRX, nice pattern here. trending up, has moved from 10 to 26. So we're looking at over 100% move in a relatively short period of time, just 4 or 5 months here. Now we had this strong breakout. I don't know if it was earnings. If it's an earnings catalyst, that's even better. Touch the 50-day. I'd probably look for a convincing breakout of this level, and then maybe a pullback here. But overall, really good setup. SWHC, Smith and Wesson. Nice breakout here, consolidating over the old high here. So I'd probably look for an entry here on a pullback to about 1475, maybe even 15. But everything looks good. Again, really nice volume pattern here. So you guys are picking some good stocks here. OSUR, excuse me, has been in a downtrend here from 11 down to 5, going back to early this year, late last year, picking up a little bit. We can see some underlying buying here. Maybe people are seeing some good value in here, and now we got this breakout. If it would have been nice if this breakout actually cleared the 50-day moving average, but we do have some nice volume come in. But I'd probably wait for a little bit of a pullback. If we had some more short interest and you could consider a short squeeze, maybe we could enter here. But I'd probably want to either, this is one of those things, you either play the pullback or a breakout over the 50-day. Either one of those would signal an entry. But I think things might be turning around here for OSUR, and again, medical instruments. Netflix, we've been talking about in the report Netflix for quite some time now. This was an earnings breakout. Now we had this range develop between 550 and 575, and we were watching for a breakout over this 575 range. We got that. Pulled back, and I was actually very close to entering. I'd mentioned it in the trade report that we did have an entry between 578 and 582. A number of members actually took it. I did not. I wanted the range to develop a little more, and then lo and behold, on Friday, we get the news with Netflix doing something in China. And we got this big breakout here now over 600, going exactly according to plan. Now, if you're not in yet, I think you need to wait for some consolidation or maybe a bit of a pullback here for entry. But overall, Netflix is looking fantastic and should be at the top of anybody's swing trading focus list, no matter what type of setups you're trading, because it fits a lot of different setups here. For us, it's the earnings breakout. PCLN, it's been an interesting volatile stock to trade. Kind of still in its chop from 1,000 to 1,350. So, it's going back and forth in this range. And until we get a break of this, let me see what the all-time high is. And that is around the all-time high. You probably want to see a break of this level to get the next big trend move. Overall, a nice volume pattern here on this breakout. So you could play, and I think we are remounting here, or getting close to remounting the 50-day. So maybe you can play this on a move to the gap fill. And, we have that idea that gap fills almost always fill. So maybe you can play a 60-point move here from 1,200 to 1,260. BLOX. This, I believe, was the earnings breakout for us last quarter. A number of entries here on pullbacks to the breakout level. So right now it's kind of in this 23 to 25 range. Not the most volatile stock. So we'd like to see some more volatility. But if you're stocking this one, you'd be looking for a breakout over 25 for an entry. Solar City. Nice trend here from say about 45 to 62. Looks a little heavy here, and the trend seems to be slowing down. Stochastics are making lower highs here at relative highs, not all-time highs, but relative highs. So I'd probably still healthy. I like the volume pattern here, but I'd like to see a bit of a pullback for entry. Another solar stock, FSLR, at the bottom of the breakout range. So this would be a low risk entry. And you can see here, it's starting to bounce here right at that breakout level. I think you could enter here on maybe a little bit of weakness and play a kind of a pre-remounts here. And maybe, you know, if it gets going, it breaks out to 65 and even through that level. And it looks like the all-time highs, well, we've got some all-time highs back here, but recent highs are around 75. So there's some room to move there. VMW, I think this was an earnings breakout, and this has been in a downtrend. We've got, you know, the 200-day moving average here, which it's remounted now. So this is a really nice, not only an earnings breakout, but you've remounted the 200-day moving average. So I would say you have an entry right here. Right at 87.50. Probably want to give yourself a bit of a looser stop because it did make a low here at 86. So entry here around 87.50. Get your stop in here is actually a little tricky because you've also got to contend with this gap fill and the 250-day moving average. But let's say you're playing the top of the range 5 points. You could give yourself about 2.5 points. Which would get you down about right around here. So I like this setup. Stop placement is a little tricky, but looks good overall. Tesla has been coming back after getting beaten down a little bit here from 290 to 190, and now you know, we've rebounded the 200-day moving average, and the 50-day is turning up, and we can play this kind of cross of the 50-day and the 200-day. You know, we want to see the 50-day above the 200-day, and I think it looks like it might be getting there. The key is continued volume coming into the stock, which we're seeing here. Pretty good volume pattern. A little extended here, so I would like to see a pullback for entry. But overall, looks good. CGYP, you know, price pattern is kind of not much, but I do like the volume pattern. So volume pattern for me trumps the price action because this is what's really moving the stock. The price action is kind of you know, goes by what's happening with the volume, and we had this nice volume here on the run up. Been kind of a hard run down. We would have liked to seen it stop here at the 50-day moving average, but it's moved down to the 200-day, basing here, and we still have decent volume pattern. So maybe you could enter here, as long as you manage your risk here. But again, I think drug manufacturers, there might be better stocks to look at, but this is decent here. LNKD breakdown, you know, there's nothing I would be doing here until I see some kind of, you know, either something telling me positive in terms of volume, remounts, you know, a change in the volume pattern. And then for a short, it's already beaten down so much that I'd want to see kind of a breakdown from here, or maybe a pullback up, and then you can short. OREX, again, nothing really here. And if you're looking at this from the long side, there's other stocks you can trade. You could even short this maybe. And actually, it's a tough short too, because you do have this short interest to contend with. So, you know, there could be a short squeeze at any time. If you are watching this, I'd wait for some kind of signal that there is a short squeeze in play. And then maybe a remount to the 200-day, you could get long. But right now, I probably would not touch it. COL, nice trending stock. This is basically right now, and we've got the good volume pattern. This is a buy the dip kind of stock right now in a trend. So anytime you see a dip, you see stochastics get down here, oversold, you can go ahead and enter. Overbought right now. So I'd want to see a pullback. We've got that nice round number here. So if you could enter here at 96, it could make a run at 100. And then if it eventually breaks out over 100, you could enter in there on that breakout of a round number. SWKS has been a nice trending stock, kind of getting a little choppy here, but you know, there is this kind of you know, flag here forming. We could see a break here. You know, it tried to break 100, pulled back, and oftentimes, excuse me, it takes a few times before we break that 100 level. But maybe you could even play a kind of pre-break of 100. Just get in right here, take a shot, place your stop a few points down, make sure you're managing your risk okay. And if it does break 100, oftentimes you get a really quick move to say 105, 110. So decent setup there. MNKD, downtrending here. Nice kind of a breakout here, but we would have liked to see a little more volume compared to some of the down move here. I probably, until things change here, wouldn't touch it. Although I will say the fact that it's got a good short interest ratio, maybe that could propel the stock up. JCP, not much of a pattern here. Really not something I would be looking to trade right now. Amazon, I'm actually in Amazon right now. Disclaimer here, but this was an earnings breakout, rounded pullback, which is one of my favorite pullbacks on earnings breakouts. You get back into the gap range, shake out some of these guys who had entered here that wanted to see the run up, and now they'll get a little worried. You get a few hammers here. We entered at 423. It actually ran up to 440, pulled back to 426, but I definitely think we're going to at least test the high of the earnings breakout here at around 450. So I'm still in the stock. Now, for those of you who are not, where do you enter? I think you could enter even on this little pullback here. And if it goes below 420, then I'd wait to see if there's a gap fill here at 392. Twitter would not touch unless I see something change in the stock. It's really tough to right here to short or get long. So not something I would touch for a long for a 2-week type swing. COP, oil and gas. We do see over this chop here. This just looks like chop, but if we investigate it a little further, we see a nice volume pattern in here. Big green days. For the most part, smaller red days. I'm still getting over the flu here, guys, so there's a little bit of coughing. But overall, like the volume pattern. Now, where do you enter? Obviously, the really nice entry would have been here when it was testing the bottoms. Has made about made a 10-point move. Now it's pulled back here. But I think you've got a decent shot here at the 50-day. Place your stop maybe at 64. And then see if you can at least run up back to the 200-day and maybe even a breakout there. AIG, I'll just say right now, not volatile enough for me. I'm not looking to hold the stock for 2 months just to get a 1 or 2 point move. So probably not something I would trade. Maybe you can go into the insurance space and look for some more volatile stocks in that sector. Honestly, I don't usually trade insurance stocks, but there is some room up here to 70, and the volume pattern is improving. So that's a positive if you do want to trade this stock. And we are playing a remount here. So maybe you could enter here and play that move to 70. Guild, biotech, outpacing the biotech sector, which is a good. You always want to see that in a stock you're trading. It's been in this range for a while. Let's look at it longer term. It's been in this range around 110. I would say probably wait for a pullback here to the moving average and see if you can't make a run up. VIXH, huh? I think this was VIX. And I don't know what's going on here, what I should be looking at. Here we go, VIXX. You are at the bottom of a range here. So maybe, I forgot now what vehicle you would use to trade here. I guess you could use VXX. I don't trade VIX a lot, guys, so if anybody wants to shoot me an email, you can. But I think I'm going to step back from this one just because I don't trade the VIX. But WUBA, we'd watch this on the breakout, and even when it was starting to form a nice volume pattern in this range here, broke out. Now it's consolidating here around 80, tightening up. You could enter where it's coiling in here, maybe try to get a little better price, place your stop under here, around 74, and see then if it can't make a run up to 83, and then maybe even a breakout. So that's it. That's the 29 stocks, about 30 stocks you guys asked for. Great looking setups, and we'll do this again in a couple of weeks. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Singh, SINGHJD1 @AOL.com. Feel free to contact me anytime, or you can send me a message on Twitter. And again, if you want a free trial to the trade report, just go to bullsonwallstreet.com, swing trader, part-time trader free trial. So that's it for now. I will see you next time.